now?
All right, cool.
Because yeah, some of the people in my comments saying they weren't able to hear me. So
okay, cool.
I just figured.
You guys all good?
Can I get a thumb up from somebody in the comment? Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me in my comments? Everyone's joining right now. Well, I'm not sure. Were your people able to hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you. And some
Okay.
had, the usual negative, but a lot said thank you for your service and that they backed the blue actually. So I got some conservatives over here.
Okay, and I was pretty much just saying it's just let's keep an open mind. I'm just a person, Matt's just a person, and if we're gonna go right off the get-go with all cops are bastards and everything, you're not gonna hear anything because you just got that in your head. I've never shot anybody that I know of. Like I've never shot anybody. I've never fired my weapon in the line of duty. So the whole killing somebody and everything, that wasn't me. But if anything, I just wanted to be kind of an open discussion on, I'm sure there's a couple topics that you want and vice versa, but that's just the way it's going to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. So with that being said, guys, the usual shit I'm going to have to preface every time we do this is he's nice enough to step up. He doesn't have to do this. All right. Every time anyone steps into this sphere, it actually puts us at risk because we know how our society is super polarized, super cancel-y, especially given his profession and given what he's done. We know there's a lot of animosity towards that. So we should respect the fact that he's willing to come up here, discuss his experience, and actually talk to people about this shit and open up about that, all right? That's the only way we try to bridge this shit, all right? So as I always say, we ain't going to go cancel mode. We ain't going to go harass people. We ain't going to go mass report them, all right? We can disagree with them, and we should disagree if we think they're wrong about something, but it can be done respectfully, all right?
Yeah, I got to make a couple moderators real quick.
Yeah, do your thing real quick.
Yeah.
Actually, I should do the same probably.
Jack Beast, I'm going to have you moderate if you wouldn't mind, man.
Jack Beast is in there?
Yeah.
What up, dude?
He's going to be talking to you tomorrow and everything, and so I got a couple people in there that are going to kind of watch it for me because I've at least spoken to him times.
Yeah, definitely want to get your mods up, no doubt about that,
bro. Okay, so I guess the easiest way to start this off is I guess you'd say, because you're obviously of the left persuasion, I'm more of the right. My political view is basically, it's like the TikTok video. I think gay people should be able to protect their marijuana farms with automatic weapons. That's kind of that's almost my stance. If you're not hurting anybody and you're not doing anything, you can do it, especially if it's in the privacy of your own home. Go for it. That's your thing. As long as you're not hurting anybody. That's the big thing.
So you heard me when I asked him if he's a libertarian. That'd probably be more relevant for you, honestly, just given from what you already kind of hit with, because I kind of fuck with that mentality for the most part. So
yeah,
actually, that's where we were talking. Remember, I kind of brought up gun control with him for a second. I was like, I'm not as lefty as on gun control. I think the whole since you mentioned automatic weapons, I think if we're talking gun violence in America, and it goes back to media and sensationalism, mass shootings are not the issue for the most part. But they're just not, right? And that goes back to that media sensationalism. These are actually two separate issues, in my opinion. So I'll kind of preface that, and maybe you want to jump into there, and I'll kind of follow up.
Absolutely. I mean, as a cop, we can spout statistics at each other, Matt, till we're blue in the face. I mean, you got your stats, I got my stats. I mean, and people are so over stats in this country. It's over. So I'm going to stay away from stats. I'm going to go off of my personal experience being a Minneapolis cop. And I mean, Minneapolis has 5 distinct precincts. Downtown is 1. The north side is 4. Southeast is kind of the 3rd precinct. Then southwest is the 5th precinct. And then the northeast is the 2nd precinct. Well, I mean, the crime varying from like the 2nd to the north side, which is there's a lot of gun violence when it comes to that area of the city. I mean, the shootings are up significantly and everything like that. And a lot of people are losing their lives, and it's quite terrible. It's a very not nice place to be right now, I guess you could say. As for the media making essentially, they cherry pick stories that invoke emotional response, and they get everyone hyped up even before anyone has a chance to really know what happened. Me, I try to, because I'm the cop in my family, my friends, so I'm the first call. Like when George Floyd happened, I didn't even know what happened. I went home from work. I don't watch the news at night. Like I went home, I did my stuff, I mowed the lawn, I think, Memorial Day, and the next day I came into work and it was just a completely different mood, and I got people phone calling me, text messaging me like, what happened? Like, why could he do that? And I'm like, I haven't even seen any of this. I have no idea what happened. So from the get-go becoming a cop, I always kind of had the standpoint of go, I don't want to make an opinion or a decision until I can see like all of the circumstances, not the 30-second clip on NBC Nightly News, not the YouTube. I want to know like what happened before, what happened after, what happened during before I made my decision. And that's when it came to the media sensationalizing things. It helped cut down, I guess you could say, the emotional response to me when you could actually look, because we live in a cause and effect society. You know, that's just the way that our society runs. There's a cause and then there's an effect. There's thing one hits and then thing two hits. That's how our society runs. And so it was one of those things where I was really always looked at it in that sense. I want a broad picture rather than a narrow scope on something.
Yeah, let me get the context, right? So to your point, and this is like tangent, but I think it actually gets to the idea here in some way. If you look at presidential cycles and it really ramps up in like last 6 months, in the 1960s, your average presidential soundbite was about 43 seconds. That's actually a decent amount of time, right? Now, by the 90s, that was like 13 seconds, right? So I don't even want to know what it is today. So the point, we used to actually have more context where we were kind of talking about, looking at, and I respect that. I try to be the same way, right? You try and kind of, there's really quick reactions, right? Well, let me pause and let me, actually get all the information, and then I'll give my thoughts, right? So to that end, I do think as a society, we're way too fucking quick to jump on either side of this shit when it does pop out, right? When you have a story, people race to their kind of preconceived notions, right? They kind of find a few facts that might lean their way, and they race to a conclusion that fits what they want to believe. What are some of your thoughts on George Floyd, if I may ask, since we're kind of, seems like we're there?
Well, I mean, the trial is over. I know Lane saying we need to get him in a recovery position. That's copping 101. I mean, you get him in a recovery position, and then I know they called the medics and everything, but to the defense of the cops, and this is probably not going to make your people happy. But when you have a crowd of 10 to 20 people like around you, because I've had those situations where I'm on the back of a suspect that was literally just fighting with us. We got the handcuffs on. He's in the recovery position, which is.
Do you mind defining recovery? I've had a few people ask.
Recovery position is basically somebody's handcuffed behind them and they're on their side, which decompresses their chest so that they aren't straining to breathe. It's the safest way to keep somebody in handcuffs who's being violent on the ground. And that's just until the medics come, and then you put them on the stretcher and they take them away, kind of thing. Because there are situations where you're fighting with somebody, and I mean, I'm not a small guy. I'm 240 pounds and everything, and I've had people who are under substance abuse, on some type of substance that have literally, I am on their right arm. There's a cop on their legs. There's a cop on their other arm, and there's a cop on their back. And this man was literally picked me up and threw me over him. And he wasn't big by any means. He wasn't like a bodybuilder or anything. It was just the substance that he was on, which happened to be PCP at the time.
PCP, yeah.
I mean, and if people don't know, literally, you become Superman. I mean, I got tossed like a rag doll, and that's a lot to just from the ground throw somebody over you. And that's add another 30 pounds with all my gear on. So that's a lot of weight to just move like that. So you try to keep people in a position where they're safe until the medics get there and you can get to that. And he got a trial. And that's the biggest thing is people need to everybody is afforded rights to go to court, kind of thing. That's the way our system works. It's not perfect, but if you do something wrong...
Do you mind if I pause you? This is where, I know you don't like the numbers, but this is kind of where it's like the numbers do matter here, because to your point, the system should work ideally, right? We should have kind of due process rights for everybody, right? And there's a due process, right? Someone on scene, charges, you go through the legal system, you see your day in court maybe, right? Jury, your peers. The problem is less than 10% of people ever get that day.
What do you mean by less than, like, as in they decline to go to court?
they don't have the means, the confidence, or the ability to get there. So oftentimes they'll plea out because they don't have. So this is so. For example, if you don't have the means to a lawyer, you don't understand the legal jargon being thrown your way. You don't have confidence in the system already as it is, and you're being kind of faced with two decisions: a possibility of losing within court with a public defender who you don't know, who doesn't seem that interested in your case, right?
Yeah.
You could lose and do this amount of time, or you can just plea out, take a lesser charge, and do that amount of time. What are you going to do if you're not sure? Actually, it could go wrong for you.
Well, I mean, that was. I mean, going with that, yeah, between plea deals and everything like that, when you factor in plea deals, going to actual having to, because I've had numerous times. I did a lot of DUIs. I mean, we can all agree that drinking and driving and hitting somebody on the road is bad. I mean, I think your commenters and my commenters, we can all agree drinking and driving is bad. And that's what I did. I did DUIs. DUIs are a unique thing because you really have to persuade the person to go along with the tests. Because if they refuse, it's an automatic gross misdemeanor. It's a third degree DUI right off the bat. I mean, if they refuse to take the test, that's the way Minnesota laws are set up. So you have to pretty much, during the course of these tests and everything, you're in a very, in a position that you have to be very cordial to the person. You have to be very nice. And that's what I always was. I was always nice until they gave me a reason not to be nice, kind of thing. In the sense of, if you're going to become violent towards me, I'm obviously going to have to be a cop, kind of thing. But I talk to everyone a nice way in order to get them to go along with the program, because then he didn't get hurt, I didn't get hurt, and he gets down to the chem test thing, he blows into the little machine, and then depending on where he was at, because sometimes, he's lower, or higher, kind of thing, be like, okay, man, we're going to jail. And I mean, that's just how it worked out. And it was all about I would teach my rookies and everything the same thing. It's like, you have to be nice to people. You can't be just a robot or anything. And majority of cops were that way too, is we would be nice, but right off the bat, it would be hostility towards us. You can be George Floyd. I mean, from the day one on the job, it's just being called this, that, or the other thing. I just put on the uniform. My first call was my first call as a Minneapolis police officer. It was a guy in a HIV building, which in Minnesota, they have homes to help out people with HIV and everything. And it was me and my field training officer, who was like a 5'5", 30-year veteran. And this guy was 6'5", probably 300 pounds, big black dude. And he was very angry about something that went on with another neighbor, kind of thing. And I just remember that my field training went up to him and be like, listen, kid, we're just going to be nice. I just want you to sit down. We're going to have a discussion. I'm going to put these on because you're a lot bigger than me. And we're going to have a discussion. And we found out what was wrong. We found out why he was agitated and everything like that. He'd been drinking a little bit. Somebody said something the wrong way. And it was all fine. And that's just the way the call went. But learning that really early on, doesn't matter if they're 7 feet. If you're respectful to somebody, 9 times out of the 10, it goes really good. But the media is never going to report that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you, because obviously the nature of media is they just don't cover good things ever for the most part. No. But I do think I want to kind of get back to Chauvin, because I do appreciate your personal experience and trying to preface it with the idea that if you just handle a situation with some kindness, be a little more proactive as opposed to getting to the point you have to be reactive, it goes a long way. Yes. To go back to the recovery position, I don't think George Floyd was ever violent at any point, and if he was violent at any point, he certainly couldn't have been once they had him cuffed and down, right? So during the
time when he was trying to get him into the car and everything, there's 3 different types of resistance. There's active and passive, and then violent aggression. Pretty much, that's the I'm like swinging on you thing. Passive resistance is basically like somebody, let's say a protester laying in the middle of the road and refusing to move. That is passive resistance. They're not actively doing anything. They're just laying there. But they're still resisting, like moving out of the road. Like, you don't want them to get hit and everything. And you have active resistance, which is basically like, I'm not going to go with you, like the program and everything. Was he belligerently violent towards the cops? No. But once again, I wasn't on the scene that day. So
Yeah,
like
I
I
mean,
think
and I respect that, but I mean, we have a lot of footage here. Like we
oh
have the entire,
there is, but
you know.
you could see it was he was obviously under some type of substance. I was a drug recognition expert. It was the hardest school to go to. Basically, the cop, like, one side's DUI, which is alcohol. The other's all the things that you're under the influence when it comes to, like, opioids and cannabis and, I mean, of course, alcohol. Then you got, every drug that you can have depressants in your system. It's how your body reacts, and you learn how to do it. And he was obviously on something. He wasn't in the right state of mind. I don't think he would be in that situation if he was in
So
the right state of mind.
I think we have a problem here because I'm going to be honest. It sounds to me like you're justifying to me what was negligent homicide at minimum. Like I mean,
No,
this is
okay, no, let pause on that one, because I never was talking about that. I was just saying his state of mind. I never said what they did was right. Okay.
but this can sound
And
like justification to some people. So fair enough. Like I'll let you
no,
respond
I'm
to that.
not.
It's
I'm
fair enough.
not
Yeah.
justifying George Floyd dying. I am not. I am not justifying that. What I am saying is that he was passive. He was actively resisting the cops. If he would have gotten in the back of a car, he wouldn't have been on the ground, right?
But then we'll just concede that, right? We'll just concede
Yeah,
that because I don't think that
that's I'm talking
because
about
I don't
that portion kind of thing.
because I don't think that part's that relevant to me, frankly. Because I'm actually cool with the idea, like, yeah. To your point, if you're given a lawful command and someone's giving you shit and getting physical, you're gonna have to do something to do what you know. What I'm saying I understand that aspect of it, right? Like obviously,
Yeah.
I get that. But once you do have a scene under control, once you do have once you have someone under control, I think that's the part. I think because I know my comments are kind of blowing up right now. People are trying to address this. They want to know. Basically, it's like yeah, like we understand that it's tough being out there in some of these situations, and there's a lot of variables at play that people might not understand. But ultimately, when you have 4 men on scene, you have established control of the scene. You have established control of this possible man who was on drugs or maybe out of his mind, etc. You've established control of the situation. He's no longer a threat in any sense whatsoever. How does he still end up dead?
And see, that's the thing. I'm not a doctor on that, and I wasn't there. I mean, yeah, you have video, you have all this video and everything like that. I wouldn't have handled it that way. I hope that that's good enough for your commenters. I would not have handled that way, and that's all I can do, because that'd be like me pretty much Monday morning quarterbacking something that you did during the weekend. Be like, well, I wouldn't have handled that situation, or we can't do that kind of thing. It's like I wasn't the cop there. I didn't do it.
I
And
think we
I
can
wouldn't have
sometimes,
handled.
though.
What's that?
I think we can sometimes, though. Like, I feel you. There's something to be said for, in the end, we don't know what's 100% going through someone's mind in a moment, but that's not always necessarily relevant either, because I don't need to be a doctor to understand that you shouldn't put the full force of your knee with your foot up off the ground on the back of the knee. I've been in scraps. I've been in fights. I've been in situations where it's gone to the ground, and I've gotten control of the situation. And I'm not like choking them out. I've been in situations where I'm getting my ass beat. I don't understand the idea that, and I respect that you're trying to I think you're trying to just be respectful of other human beings and their perspective and their lives, and you don't want to be judged for your life, so you're not trying to judge other people for their lives. But I think from my perspective,
I would have done it differently. I would have
yeah.
put him in the recovery position like I did all the other times. I would have put him in there, and that's just plain and simple. That's what I would have done. But I wasn't there, so I couldn't have done that. So
let me ask you a question. That's a good. So what would you have done had you been one of the officers standing by and you saw him doing that? If you had been there,
if I was one of the, I'd be like, dude, we need to get this guy in the recovery position. Let's get him on his side. Medics are coming, and I understand the premise of being pretty much tunnel vision or overwhelmed, with a crowd, because I've had those times. And it is very, it's an experience that you'd never know unless you were actually a cop, kind of thing. We were arresting a guy in the back of an alley who had a warrant for domestic assault, strangulation, child abuse, and sexual misconduct with a child. Those were his warrants. He was going to jail. In the time that it took me to run him on the computer and step back out, I was surrounded with 40 people around us. And it was just me and my partner and this guy. Mm-hmm. And when you have, it's like
A hostile
It's dark.
situation, possibly.
It's dark. You have 40 people around you. It's a dark alley. You have you are outnumbered significantly. And it wasn't a bunch of, like 7-year-olds in this group. It was grown adult men and women in this 40 people around us. And I stepped out and I did the only thing that I could possibly think to make them pretty much understand that what we're doing is legal and just and calm their nerves because he was a minority. I said his name and then I said what we're arresting you for, these warrants. And everybody knows child abuse. I mean, you hear child abuse, you know what that is. And you know what strangulation is, kind of thing, or domestic abuse strangulation. And at that point, everyone kind of Homer Simpsoned back into the bush kind of thing. It was, and we took him to jail and there was no incident. But the question is, what happens if I didn't do that? And that's what goes through your head is like, how is this going to work in this situation? Because every situation is constantly evolving. I've watched people stand in line at Dunkin' Donuts for 5 minutes trying to figure out what coffee to get.
Well, let me ask you a question on this to this point, because I think this is a fair one then, because we're kind of talking about the ideas of cops and kind of that line between them, what they're trying to do in the crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you see a cop or any person, whether an authority figure or not, doing something wrong, should you not step up, regardless of who you are as a person? If you just see wrong in general, shouldn't you step up?
But how do you know what I was doing?
I'm just talking about in general. I'm not talking about you specifically.
In general, but see, that goes back to the whole thing I was talking about earlier, knowing the whole situation. So let's say, okay, let's modify this to a different situation, and you showed up on this scene.
Well, here's my thing: we don't have to modify it because we have a real situation. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, we'll take this situation now. Okay, this situation, you were on that scene, and I walked out, and I just said, you're under arrest," and we put him in the back of a car, and I didn't say anything about what he was under arrest for. Because we were already getting comments, and we were getting you could hear them say, they're not taking him anywhere. Like they were the thought process was going on, we're not going to let these cops do this. That thought process was going on. And so I thought the only thing that I could do to diffuse that situation was let them know what I'm arresting them for, which they had no legal right to know why. These people had no legal right, but that's the only thing I could think of in that split second where I could diffuse that situation. Now, what happens if... Because we've had situations where we had to fight with somebody. This, that, or the other thing. We had to fight with somebody. They're on the ground. They're handcuffed. They're in the recovery position, and that group forms. It got far worse after the riots and everything. It was people were more emboldened to prohibit us from doing our job, even just so much as picking up a drunk off the street to get him to an ambulance. I mean, I was questioned on where I'm taking him. I mean, they're loading him in an ambulance. He's intoxicated. I pick Ricky up at least 4 times a week. I know Ricky. I mean, but you got 10 people there saying, oh, the cop stole his wallet.
So let me give you, let me kind of take this back to a little focus. I hear what you're saying, but because ultimately, so let's say there's an ambiguous scene, but this scene again is not ambiguous. No one's here saying don't arrest him. They're saying don't kneel on his neck and kill him. Those are huge different things. And so I respect that sometimes scenes are ambiguous, but I'm going to push back on the idea that this was an ambiguous scene. This was I know it's hard to, it is really difficult to judge people or to know what their intent is, but we have so much context here, to the point where I don't think we have to make up hypotheticals or, we can just discuss this exact situation because we have a ton of context. We have all of it. We have what led to it. We have what led to the car. We have what led to the ground. We have the death. We have the aftermath. We have a court case now, right? We have a lot of things to play with. I think the issue is, I want to get back to that general idea. Let's say there's a situation that's pretty clear, right? There's no real ambiguity to it. If something's wrong, people should step up and act, right? And I think the biggest problem that my side of things has is, you seem like a good dude, legit. You seem like a good dude. I think the biggest question I have for people like you is, how do you respond to the bad cops out there? Because we know that there's a lot of good cops who still look away because the wall of silence, right? That blue wall of silence, that whole don't snitch on your dude. There's something to be said for that mentality, right?
there's it. It's I knew you were going to bring this up, and I was been thinking about it all day how to best describe it. So I'm just going to quote my one of my field training officers. He's a military guy, great cop, good record, and everything like that. And what he said, the best way to describe it is, "Go, I will run into a building filled with gunfire to pull you out, but I'm not losing my job over you doing something wrong. I will go to bat for you, and I will, and that's the way I ran my stuff. And I had a really good shift. I had a really good shift of officers, and there really wasn't a bad cop in the bunch. I knew of other cops in the city that had a reputation, and they were under investigation for it. But like anything, you have to have facts to. You have to have, I guess you'd say, what is it? You have to have confirmed suspicions. I mean, you have to have like probable cause to arrest somebody. The same thing. You have to have probable cause to go after a cop for doing something wrong. And there's whole units, IA and the Civilian Oversight Review Board, that would do that. They would look into those cops. Cops would come and be like, "Hey, I got a problem with X, Y, and Z for this reason. You need to look into it." And then they will. They'll start reviewing your body cam, to looking at your GPS on your car, to actually sometimes even dropping in on you, following you around, kind of thing. So I mean, there is a process kind of thing on finding this stuff. But much like any other profession, there's bad apples in every bunch. The problem is we have become a country that literally all cops are bastards, no matter what.
And but would you agree then? Would you agree with the logic? And this is like, I'm not even applying this in any specific, but you would agree with the logic then, though, if a cop does something bad and a good cop doesn't do anything about it, you could classify him as a good cop, because being complicit in bad actions when you are supposed to stop those things is not good, right? That's fair.
It's not good. But then at the same time, look, I mean, to compare it to something, I guess we can all look at a medical field. Like imagine an intern going and telling a neurosurgeon, "You're doing this wrong and you're going to kill this patient," kind of thing. I mean, that I don't think that happens much either. I mean, I know doctors kill people and everything through like malpractice and everything for doing the wrong thing. And they have stuff like that happens all the time, kind of thing. Cops are definitely a forefront. I mean, are cops perfect? No. But I think that the cops that are on today are trying their best. I think that they honestly, vast majority, and when I say vast majority, I mean vast majority of them actually give a shit. I mean, I've given up holidays, birthdays, family events. I've sacrificed my family and my personal life and everything to help out strangers. And that's, I'm not wanting an award for it. I'm saying that I do that because it's a calling to do it. I want to do it. And that's the people who do this. And I invite anybody that thinks that the police department needs to change, go sign up. Go sign up and be the change from within.
I think here's the problem with that for some people is understand the history of the cops, right? Knowing the history of the cops, so these are originally the slave catchers and things of that nature. I don't think a lot of people want to be attached to a body that hasn't necessarily fleshed that fully out in some ways, because we know we have DOJ reports, we have FBI reports that do speak to the growing rate of white nationalism within the police, right? And if you consider what's happening currently, and then we look at the historical aspects of the cops, I mean, I wouldn't want to be one. I have family who've been cops. Some of my best friends have been cops, and I know people who've been decent cops. But I know dudes who've been cops who are just bad fucking people. Like, they're not good people. One of them was my uncle. I'll just straight up say it. Like, not a good human being. He was a cop, worked Stockton PD, and he should not have been a cop, knowing his personality, right? Like, and I think the issue is, this is my problem. I can only speak for what happens here in California, for example. But, like, one of my exes, she had to put more time, training, and effort into learning how to be a hairstylist than my buddies had to become cops here. That just blows my mind. I don't understand how that could be possible. Another thing to consider, police who have a college education are 40% less likely to utilize force, 30 to 40% less likely to utilize force, less likely to draw their weapon. It kind of goes back to your point about being able to use critical thinking and being able to kind of handle a situation without actually letting it get to that point, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's something to be said for improving training, reducing the scope maybe of some of the calls you guys have to go to. Maybe there's some things you guys are getting called to that you're not necessarily trained for, and they're not really like violent situations where we need like men with guns and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the issue, I'll just be honest, the issue I'm having personally is like, well, I totally respect, I understand, like, I think you're just a dude who like really just tries to, my perspective is my perspective, and I can't really know someone else's perspective. It seems like you really try to live by that philosophy, and I respect that. But I think my issue is it can come across as deflection or like an inability or an unwillingness maybe to kind of be critical where we can be critical, right? Because there are times where we can be critical of actions and we can kind of extrapolate things from that, right? And I think that's what people want to focus on. For example, I think some good ones would be like Adam Toledo and the Chauvin case, right, to kind of focus in on, because it just speaks to, I think people have an issue again because there's this idea of police brutality and force within this field, right? Maybe like more people that personality trend towards it. And one of the biggest issues we don't talk about is, to your point, I actually believe that maybe you had a really good precinct. I actually believe that, because what people don't want to talk about is oftentimes certain departments are way fucking worse than other departments. Certain precincts are way fucking worse than other precincts when it comes to misconduct rates, when it comes to, like just use of force, et cetera, like that. So it's not like a cut and dry standard thing across the country. Fair so far?
Fair. You threw a lot at me.
I threw a lot at you. Yeah, I threw a lot.
I'm gonna start from what I can remember as the beginning. So training. I knew that this was gonna come up with police. I have a bachelor's. I have 2 associates. Thank you to the United States Air Force for paying for those. But that's what my background is. That I went through a 43-week police academy, which included the Minnesota skill set kind of thing. Some states have post requirements, other states don't. Post is police officers standard and training, which is like a state mandate. Then continuing education. I got every training that was available, from stress therapy to gender pronouns to LGBT awareness. I mean, like we got every training that was available. And so I asked people, I go, okay, I got all this training because my list is extensive. I mean, it's an extensive list. What training out there that's available should cops be taking that we haven't already taken? And that, because everyone's like, okay, we need more training. We need more training. Okay, show what's training. I mean,
but I think that's the issue is it's not standard across states and things like that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there is more. Every state differs. Some. I mean, heck, if you're talking northern Minnesota compared to Minneapolis or the Minnesota State Patrol, it's a lot different. I mean, but you're also policing cows. I mean, up in northern Minnesota, there's not much going on up there except for Farmer Bob and the occasional that. I mean, every place has a different challenge. My call load was to hit on your next point about divvying up. I mean, to dividing some of the services, because that's absolutely right. Police are expected to do every single service and be the family counselor, the marriage counselor, the enforcer, the pretty much the everything. We are there for everything. I know personally social workers that I know, they won't go into a situation without us. So even if you do send in social workers, a lot of the times social workers won't go in without us, especially in those hostile situations where domestics or stuff, because at the end of the day, we got to get the scene fixed, stable before somebody can come talk in and everything. As part of the deflection note, it's not so much as deflection, it's personal responsibility. That's how I've always been. That's how I live my life. I am responsible for my actions and the people directly about me, kind of thing. I can't change anybody else's action. I can give them suggestions on what they should do. I can give them advice if they request it, but I can't force somebody to think the way I do. And I think that's honestly the biggest thing causing the polarization in this country is everybody wants everybody else to think how they do. You can't do that because nobody thinks how you think. Every single person, even MAGA Trumpies to leftists and everything, you put 5 leftists in a room, they're all going to think a little bit differently about things. Mm-hmm. They're not going to think exactly alike. And that's where it's the personal responsibility. You have to take care of your own stuff. I'm trying to remember the rest of the points.
You're good. You're chilling, man. Okay. You hit the 2 key ones there. Honestly, was the deflection point was probably the most important one, I think, for me and some of the followers. I guess this is kind of the question I think people kind of want to know is, what do you think caused George Floyd's death that day?
I think it was a culmination of a bunch of stuff.
You mind listing those things out?
I think it was the stress of the encounter. I think it was the holding him on the ground. I think it was the drugs in his system and his heart condition. I think it all worked together, kind of like a giant, what is it? One of those, like a Jenga puzzle. It's like you pull one out and the whole thing falls. I think it was something that if you would have removed one or two things, probably wouldn't have happened.
Like a knee?
Maybe.
I think, and this is where I'm going to have to kind of pinpoint you down a little, my dude, because you listed a lot of things to me that weren't even close to the relevant factor, honestly. Because I think the relevant factor in all that was Officer Derek Chauvin.
So the knee on the back of the neck is what you're saying.
Because I believe that with all that you just said, we grant all of that. That's still going to have to end.
I'm saying it's a culmination of everything.
But I think
your arteries are right here. Mm-hmm. Your windpipe is right here. A knee, there is nothing vital except for your spinal cord right back here.
Except the medical examiner. The medical examiner.
Yeah, I watched the whole trial. The medical examiner did not. I'm saying that if it was a loss of oxygen, it would have been right here. If it was a loss of air, it would have been right here. And that's where I'm going on it. It was a bunch of things put together. It was a totality of things all working in unison that caused Mr. Floyd to die.
The knee wasn't actually on the back of his neck because his face was to the side. So the knee actually was on his artery, by the way, because he wasn't just face down like this, right? He was actually face down like this. The knee was on his artery.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree. From my view on that, I don't think it was on the artery. Well, artery is right here.
I don't think we have to agree to disagree because I think the medical doctor has the relevant.
Yeah, I watched it and I don't know where you're getting that. Maybe you can send me that segment of the video that you're talking about. I'll totally do that. That's fine.
Fair enough.
But no, I still think it's a culmination of everything. And when you see somebody pass out from opiates and die from opiates, you see it's a different experience. I had a guy that was dead for about 5 minutes. He was dead, no heartbeat, nothing. I was doing CPR on him. I went through my 2 Narcans. My partner went through his 2 Narcans. The medics showed up, and I think they did 4 more Narcans, and then he came back, and he popped back. But I mean, he was dead for 5 minutes, kind of thing. And so, I mean, opioids have a really pretty much negative effect on the body if not used properly or prescribed by a doctor. And there was opioids in his system. So that's why I'm saying it's not just you're trying to nail me down to one thing causing.
Because in my opinion, one thing did it. Because with all that being said, I think if he controlled the scene appropriately and understood this man, at that point in time, with all that being said, all that has to be done is you get the fuck off his knee, right? And you let people on scene do their job. Because to your point, all these things you're bringing up about not being able to control a scene, not knowing the audience, things like this, these are all accounted for within this specific hypothetical. Because while I respect your experience, I don't think it applies to this specific situation fully. It does a lot, obviously, because you're a cop. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't apply, obviously, because you've experienced some of this shit in a way I haven't, right? So that's relevant, 100%. So I hear your point about, fair enough, tunnel vision, when you're trying to handle something, and then all of a sudden you come back and it's a lot more people on scene all of a sudden, and right, okay, new variables to account for, right? Okay. So I get that. But this isn't a situation where the crowd's trying to prevent an arrest, where the crowd's questioning the arrest. The crowd is questioning murder, is the word I'm going to use intentionally here.
And he went to court and he was found guilty of murder.
Mm-hmm. And exactly. And why was that?
So because he was found because the jury found him guilty of murder. I'm not a juror.
So had you been a juror, what would you have voted?
What would I have voted? I'm not going to say that on this. I don't think murder 2. Looking at murder 2, maybe murder 3. I don't know how you get murder 2 and manslaughter at the same time.
I don't understand that either, actually, myself. I think it would have to be either or.
But looking at murder, looking at the definition of murder 2, it's not murder 2.
So to your point, I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I do agree with your point that you can't have manslaughter and murder 2 by definition. Like, that doesn't actually work.
That's two different things.
Literally by definition, that can't work, to your point. Now, I'm not saying I agree that it's not murder 2, but it can't be both of those. I agree with that. I think you get what I'm saying there. I understand your point on that. It can't be both of those. Like, I don't understand that either. Because they're literally different by definition. Not only are they different levels, but even within murder, there's different levels, to your point, different intent and shit like that. So I don't get that. We are getting to that point. I'll be honest, this conversation didn't go exactly the way I kind of wanted, because I think we approach things fundamentally different, which is not a bad thing. You're kind of more of a perspective, kind of what I know kind of guy, and I really try to kind of bring data and all that jazz, obviously with a mix of perspective. But that being said, like, it still works because we had a good conversation. I got to meet you. I'm sure we'll probably keep chatting, right? So so is this, let's see, how about this? Is there, you want to kind of wrap it up, address some people, anything you kind of want to just leave people with in mind about you or what we talked about, or?
That everybody's human and nobody's perfect, kind of thing. We got a lot of work to do in this country, and I hope good things happen. That's all. I hope for my kids' sake, and for, you know, everyone else's kids growing up and future kids, everything goes good, because we're leaving the world to them.
I can respect that, right? 100%. It's about that next generation, the generations after that. Trying to leave something better, right?
That's what you want to do. You want to leave it for,
So yeah, I think with that being said, I think hopefully people can recognize this. I think we both got frustrated at various points, probably, right? But we're able to keep talking. You know, we didn't lose our cool, right? Maybe we didn't like some of our answers, but at the end of the day, I think we can, you know, digitally shake hands. And thank you for the conversation. And take care of yourself, my dude. See you on the backside, all right?
Have a good night.
You too, man. Yep. Yeah. So I didn't want to go too rough in there, just because he was being really respectful, and from the very beginning, he made it clear what his kind of approach and perspective was within this. So it's kind of shitty if someone says they approach life thinking this way, to just try and break that down. That's why I didn't go too hard on him. But that did not go how I wanted to go, and typically, yeah, Jar Pickles, no, dude, I saw you guys' comments, you guys aren't fucking wrong, like, I don't disagree with you guys, but in the end, like, nothing productive is going to come if I just go at him, right? So it's probably better just to kind of take my L sometimes, right? And then just, you know, I take my L sometimes. I'll say that I took an L on that one, honestly, because I didn't get that conversation to where I wanted to get to. So... But I do actually think that served a purpose, honestly, as I kind of think about it. Because I think you got a mindset into how difficult it can be for people who've been a part of a certain group to be critical of that group. So he did own the talking jar of pickles, but in my experience, this is not even like a rude or douchey thing. I just find that cops really like to talk about themselves, honestly. I don't think it's like I don't take that as a negative thing. I'm pretty willing to concede space in these types of conversations. People have to feel like they can talk, right? So, but yeah, to what Cheyenne just said, if you missed the debates going forward, anything like that, they always go on to YouTube. Go follow the YouTube page. Mute the Media, same exact name. I have previous debates on there, actually. There's already been 3 I've put up there. Any live, any debate will go on there. Any discussion, really. I'm not actually... Obviously, I'm down to have a legitimate debate on here. But what I'm doing right now with this is a little bit different than trying to just win arguments. I am trying to kind of gain people's perspective, trying to plant some seeds in them. Hopefully take away a few things, right? So, but I do think we saw an important kind of indicator into the psyche of a lot of people who've worn the badge. It is really hard for them to criticize fellow cops anyway. So, thanks, Joseph Taylor. Appreciate it, man. So yeah, I know I wasn't ignoring your guys' comments, by the way. I saw them. It just was difficult to kind of keep track with what he was saying and then know when to try and jump in. So, Also, if you're in here, do me a favor, go follow Cheyenne for UBI. Go follow Resist for Humanity. If you guys are in here, pop off in the comments. Go follow Rational Thoughts, Rational period Thoughts. I'm missing some people, man. There's some cool people in here that I'm missing. Some of my peeps are in here for sure. Sound off so I can get you. Jar of Pickles, I appreciate your passion, bro. Believe me, I felt your pain inside, homie. Who wants to debate me? I missed it. Yeah, if someone said someone wanted to debate me, comment again, just so I can see. The debate tomorrow, it's going to be a discussion, obviously. It's going to be at 6:30 Pacific time. 6:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern. I expect that one might be a little more contentious. Someone's hit me up. Don't know who the hell this is. Stop share persecution. I'm not going to accept that right now. Yo, to that end, if you do want to do this, just give me a heads up. I'm not going to randomly accept because I just don't know what I'm walking into at all, which is fine with me, but I find that's how shit gets banned pretty quickly. So, the debate tomorrow is 6:30 Pacific time. 6:30 Pacific time. Okay, guess you're so thirsty, trash talking. You missed the call for a haircut. Get blocked, bitch. Boom, 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 boom. Typically, I'm actually cool with the shit talk. Just go do it in my videos, not when I'm actually trying to create a, you know, climate more conducive to conversation. So if you want to go shit talk me, MAGA trolls, go do it on my videos, not when we're actually trying to have conversations, right? So. I do have a lot of patience, I'm not gonna lie. That's why it's like, no, if I'm fucking pissed, typically there's some reason to it. Obviously I pop off sometimes because I'm a douchey. Douche canoe, I'm an asshole, but no, I'm pretty patient, man. That's what people don't understand too. It's like, people don't have to like it, but the reality of TikTok fucking videos are dramatically fucking different than a conversation, right? Dramatically fucking different. But we live in a world that everyone loves to judge off of quick snapshots, right? So. What up, Oakland? Appreciate you being here, man. Down Ghost Frazier, appreciate you being here. Will Addiction, appreciate you being here. Appreciate that, Rational. Appreciate everyone who just threw some gifts this way. That was kind of you guys. Definitely not necessary, but I appreciate it. Honestly, why do I hate Trump? The reason I dislike Donald Trump is even without discussing policy, as someone who's been in leadership, I've been in leadership positions, be it in sports, be it in my job, things like that, be it in school, growing up. I don't respect a leader who acts like that, no matter how good their views are. I just don't. That's not how a leader acts, and never should that be a leader you accept. Be it a manager, be it a captain, be it a business owner, right? Be it a CEO, be it a president. You don't accept leadership that holds itself with that kind of behavior. You just don't, all right? And that doesn't even get into the policy. That doesn't even get into the climate that he breeds, right? Because the actions of a leader and the behavior of a leader, that creates leadership and what that society values, right? And there's a reason why we're popping off so fucking divisively right now. Didn't start with Donald Trump, but he threw gasoline on that shit, no doubt about it. But Trump is actually good on my number one topic, so. I feel like I missed the debate person. Who was that? Someone said they wanted to debate. Did I miss the comment again? My favorite media, here's the one. Oh, Quaston? Just hit me up in the DMs. So I can't like click on this and then end the chat. So just if you're like serious, just hit me up the DMs. But I'm gonna be honest, man. Like this is not a fucking joke. I've got literally like 1,000+ like DMs, comments, ats, fucking that I've been trying to like respond to as many as I can, or at least look as many as I can. And like I am not gonna be able to respond to everybody. Like I'm not gonna be able to get everybody in here. I am just one person. That's just not gonna happen. You're still suspended, Warrior? Yeah, this app is janky like that, bro. No doubt about it. Yeah, 100% guys, free Palestine. That's something I want to talk about real quick here. Is no matter what your views are on Israel, on Palestine, on the Middle East, whatever your religious views are, I think we can all agree at minimum, people shouldn't be removed from their homes and then replaced with people of a different religious belief or ethnicity. That's just wrong. So go look into that. Go look into Colombia. I don't know a ton about that myself, still kind of learning more. But keep in mind that what's happening with the Palestinians is wrong. So Q Stan. Bring it, fool. What up, dude? How you doing, man? No, I don't delete comments when I'm called out for debate. I block assholes, no doubt about that. And here's the thing, man. Like I said, 1,000 people plus have reached out in some form of debate. If you hit me with some just bullshit, like, I'm not going to respond to that. I don't care. If you hit me with something articulate, you kind of stood out, then I'll reach out to you because I'm interested. Like that guy, I reached out to him because he said he was a cop and former military. Figured he had some valuable perspective, right? The kid before was literally the first person to reach out to me. And he's like, hey, man, I'm down. So I did it. The guy tomorrow, he talked some shit. So I was like, you can get it. And now we're kind of talking, chilling, right? There's different reasons for why I reached out to different people. But if I didn't reach out to you, probably because you had nothing to offer. So think about that. Boxers versus Bruce. What up, Talfin? First, honestly, debates didn't go really how I wanted them to. I feel like the first one, there just was differences in processing. And the second one, there was differences in approach. And both were problematic for different reasons. But if you missed the debate, if you're just hopping in now, there was 2 of them. I'll post it to YouTube either later tonight or by tomorrow. The YouTube page is Mute the Media. Same exact name is here. Any debate I've already done is up there. Any debate I'm going to do is going to go up there. Any live session I do is going to go up there. So you can find them there. I got to say to the Trumpers in here, for the most part, I appreciate your guys'... Oh, did we Patreon? All right, fair enough. Dude, like I said, dude, there's a shit ton of people, bro. So Patriot, if you've added me, go ahead and add me. I just followed you, bro. Okay, so go ahead and follow me back, and we'll DM tonight. All right, we'll figure something out. Fair enough. If you got lost in the shuffle, then my bad. You look like the guy with the Viking. I don't think I look like that, dude. Gave me a true challenge. So the whole thing, I'll just explain, Kendall, I'll just explain the debate thing. So the reason I use the word debate, well, first of all, the reason for that video that got most of you guys here that saw was you guys canceled me. Like, the Trumpers literally fucking canceled me. Like, you guys came to my page weeks ago, and you guys got me deleted because you guys mass reported my ass. So when I got back, I bitched you all the fuck out. I got pissed. I was like, yo, hold on a second. Every single day of my life, I listen to conservatives complain about cancel culture. And then you guys cancel me? Like, really? So yeah, I fucking lost my shit on you guys. And then I purposely called you out for a debate and called you guys soft because I knew, well, let's see what you guys are really about. Let's see if you guys are really about this cancel shit, because I figured if I call you motherfuckers out, you wouldn't cancel me. You'd just come troll me. And, well, that's what happened. But there were some good offers in there. So... Q-Stan. So the problem is you don't have 1,000 followers, bro. I can't dual live with you. I'm not trying to ignore you. I just, how the fuck do I debate you? You can't hop on here. Like, what do you want me to do, bro? I would talk to anybody. I'm an arrogant fuck. I think I can talk to anybody. But I mean, so yeah, Tucker. If Tucker ever saw a little minnow like me and wanted to get it, I'd be down. Is it Talfin? If I just butchered your name, I'm sorry. But yeah, I appreciate that, Talfin. I've realized there's a lot of people like that, right? A lot of people are willing to kind of hear out both sides and try and have conversations and whatnot. So. Who's this? Hey, what's up, heart transplant? So most of these debate offers have come from people who are conservative. I'm more left-leaning. I mean, it's really just supposed to be discussion. So anyone who has something to offer in terms of knowledge, in terms of just some kind of speciality, right? Something you kind of know about the world, I would like to have conversations about that, right? Because there's a bunch of shit I'm ignorant of, right? Like, I know a few things, and those few things I know really fucking well, right? But for the most part, I don't know shit, right? We're all pretty ignorant. It's a big world out there. So hopefully, I'd like to find people who can kind of fill those gaps and have good conversations. I'm not looking for yes men. I'm not looking for just assholes either. Just people who can hold conversations. Might have to be a little more selective going forward, though. Now, can you please tell us what exactly your problem? What is my problem? You might want to expand on that, homie. I got a lot of problems. Trump is not a leader because he hurt my feelings. No, that's a straw man. That shit gets annoying, right? It's like, no, this man is just not a reflection of leadership. Like, I dare any of you fuckers to tell me you would fucking put up with a manager like that. I hear, my entire life, I hear people bitch about managers every single day for the stupidest shit, right? You're telling me you put up with a manager like that, yet we vote him into office? Come on, man. This is where I get kind of annoyed with Republicans. Do you know what your own leadership was saying about Donald Trump before he won the nomination? Lindsey Graham called him a bigot. Lindsey Graham called him a racist. Your own people were clowning him, but because he won the nomination, no one knows how, then you guys because what conservatives are better about than liberals is conservatives get in line. All right? You guys might not like Donald Trump, but y'all got in line. Liberals don't get in line. There's so much fucking infighting over here, right? They eat their own. You guys hated Donald Trump. You guys all made fun of him and shit. Like, literally, your own leadership hated Donald Trump. But because he got the nomination, they all shut up and they all got in line. Donald Trump made fun of Ted Cruz's wife. He called her ugly publicly, and Ted Cruz gets on his knees for him. You know what I'm saying? That's called getting in line and submitting to the demagogue. That's why I don't really respect you guys, honestly, a lot of the time, because you don't hear what I'm saying. I just sat in here for an hour plus 2 hours, right? I gave some of my free time to try and have conversations with people, so some of you guys could watch some of this shit. And after all that, you still got negative bullshit to just say. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and you wonder why people get annoyed. Fuck. Fucking annoying ass motherfuckers, bro. Yeah, I'll keep trying to speak about Palestine. That's a big one. Not a lot of good leadership in the world. You don't have to believe like me, but you can not be a douchebag, right? Fucking hell. Like I said, there's a time and a place for that act. This is not the place. Like, this just ain't it. We're in a long form setting where you can actually ask me legitimate questions if you want to learn something, right? If you're like, oh, you know, this guy seems to say a lot of shit I don't like. This guy seems to be really angry. Maybe I can take this time to ask why I seem to, like, really disagree with him or not understand him. But nah. That's cool. Not that, like, most of you guys aren't, by the way. I know I'm only talking to a few individuals in here right now. But favorite media outlets. My big ones that I start with every day are going to be the AP, Reuters, NPR, PBS, Cato Institute, Reason, and Axios probably. That's usually what I start with. But I mean, dude, I hit as much of it as I can. I'll even check out, you know, Breitbart, InfoWars, just to kind of see what people who are checking those things are looking at. I'll go check out the shitty left-wing rags too. It doesn't really matter. Because I want to be in media, and I've studied media to some extent, and like it's what I want to do. I try and check this shit out as much as I can. But I also tell people, like, if you don't want to be in media, honestly, you probably shouldn't check the news that often. Like, check it once a day maybe. But this shit's toxic as fuck. Like, I'm hoping to kind of change the media climate, because it's toxic as fuck. What's up, Thought Mind Shan? Thought Mind Shan's one of my favorite people. I think we disagree about, like, so much shit, but they're always here. They're always fucking pleasant. They're always nice. I respect you, Thought Mind Shan. Need more people like you in the world. Dr. Gray's Ghost, I agree, actually. Hey, Q-Stan. Dude, fucking prick.